TV is making TV watchable again. Join us on the Active Kingdom Entertainment Network. Download Taken TV from your App Store now.
Hi, I'm Joe Sweeney. I founded the Acervo Project in response to the growing epidemic of human trafficking and child exploitation. Classifying this as an epidemic is an understatement. Our investigation teams and cyber analysts are tracking child predators every day. We're making a difference, but we need your help. The average age of a trafficked child is just 14 years old. Will you join the Acervo Project team? Donate $14 a month to protect the next at-risk 14-year-old. Pledge your $14 a month at theacervoproject.org. That's ASSERVO.org.
Hello, welcome to Teaching His Story. I've got my daughter here with me, and we're just going to have a very casual chat from our hearts. Not that we're experts. You guys know me. I just every week share my heart. And what's really cool is that we both have a love for the word, but we don't necessarily agree on everything. And so I love to hear Julie's perspective as someone who's been homeschooled and now is homeschooling and is enjoying the adventure. Mm-hmm. I think that's what we can share is I really enjoyed homeschooling. It's not the only way. It's not even, maybe I always felt like wasn't the best for my children. There was a lot of times I'm like, boy, anybody could be doing better than me, but I enjoyed it. And I love my children. And for the most part, my children love me and love God.
We definitely do.
Love our nation. Yeah. So, I mean, to me, that's great success. I'm really, really happy. So one of the things I really wanted to talk about is that last year when our pastor started asking me to start something in our church to help parents with their children's education. And that kind of boiled down between our pastor and I homeschooling. That's just the vision he had, and it's the vision I've always had as a veteran homeschooler. But then when I talked to my daughter about helping me maybe with the younger grades, you came back and said, why don't you pull us all together like you did us children? And it was really a surprise to me that you said that. And so I thought, well, maybe you can just share why you thought that was a good idea. And we can just share what that really looks like so that these parents that are looking for options have one more option.
Well, I can say that as I've gotten older, I think I've looked back at some of the things that we were doing when we were homeschooling. And I remember just like kind of group projects and like history lessons that we were learning together. And it kind of gave us something to talk about all together. I think that we each have a different perspective. We're not all the same just because we're raised in the same house. And we can kind of share our perspective on what we're learning. And it kind of gives you more of that group environment that you would have if you were in a group environment educational system. So I think that sometimes we think the younger ones don't have as much to contribute as the older ones. And it's true that the younger ones, maybe when they're producing a work, they're doing like a short sentence versus an older one is doing an essay or something. But I've had a lot of things that my little kids have said that I just thought really contributed to the conversation. And I know in Timothy, it talks about don't let them look down on you because you're young. Yeah. And I think that the younger ones benefit from the older ones hearing what they have to say about something, learning a lesson that might be a little bit above their understanding level, but then it kind of prepares them, and they learn a lot more than you think they're learning. Mm-hmm. And then the older ones, they have opportunity to share wisdom to younger kids. They have an opportunity to kind of not be the teacher, but have the opportunity to really like be a leader in a way that's age appropriate. I'm not saying make them the teacher and you're just off doing your own thing, like they, but it does kind of challenge them to be able to explain something at a level. Like I think there's a saying like you don't understand something until you can teach it. And yes. So I think for older kids, it really helps them understand something better if they can communicate it to a younger level, or there's all these people saying, explain it to me like I'm 5, so it kind of gives everybody an opportunity to either learn things ahead of time so that when the time comes, they understand it at an even deeper level, or explain things and teach things in a way that helps you understand it better. So I just think like it is just good all around. And it makes life easier for the mom, where she's not trying to manage all these different curriculum for all the different grade levels. It just can be a lot, and it can be a lot of time, and it's hard to like give each kid that individualized attention if they're all learning completely different things. You can't really do as much enrichment. It would be hard to do a project, depending on how many children you have. It would be hard to do a project that relates to each of their history and something that relates to each of their science. Whereas if you're doing it all together, you have more time to do those deeper dives into whatever it is that they're learning. And maybe each kid will kind of come away with something different related to what you're learning, something that they're more interested in, and they can go off and read on their own. It's not that you have to do absolutely everything together. They can do that deeper reading on their own time if they're interested in a particular part of what you're learning. But as just a main time when we're all together, we can have one thing that we're all focusing on together, discussing together, and then we're not just all in our own book, like kind of alone.
Yeah.
It's just more fun. It's more fun. You have more time for fun that way.
Yeah. So what that looked like in our lives is we had a 4-year loop for history where we did ancient history up to about medieval. And then the next year we'd pick up medieval and we'd go to the present. And then we'd have a year for American history and a year for American government and economics. And so we'd read something together and discuss it. And then I'd give assignments to maybe the 1st to 4th grade, as you mentioned, teach them how to write a good sentence. And then from 5th to 8th, that's the logic stage. You're teaching them how to research. They write more of a paragraph. And I got the idea from the FACE English guide. They had this picture and it made it so clear to me, where you had the foundation of the house was the introductory sentence, and then you had these columns that were supporting sentences. Then you had the roof that was the concluding sentence. And so there's your paragraph. And I would literally do that mechanically with y'all. And then later I taught high school. And I think that really helped me systemize some of this, because I was getting other people's children. Some could write really well, and others, the thought of writing an essay was overwhelming to them. So I really did have to slow down and teach them how to write a sentence, how to write a paragraph before they could write an essay. And so those are just the 3 natural stages. Then when they're in high school, they do write an essay well, and they want to tell you all about it. They're more eloquent. They have ideas of their own. And so it's really fun. And within those 4-year kind of focuses, you can pull together all kinds of resources. And we've got our favorites, but one of the ones I started using when I started teaching other people's children was Streams of Civilization, because it teaches chronologically. So it fits really well with the Bible, which actually isn't chronological. What do you
Your address on there? I now want that out.
But I found the New Living Translation Chronological Study Bible that I'm learning from now. This is fantastic. And so I would write the whole course over to use this book. I'm going to at some point. I'm just enjoying having it lined up right with the timeline. But then this is what I use, and this is perfect for the middle school children, where you've got outlines for each book. You've got, now I've added a lot of this, so I start with the overview of geography and go into the continents and the oceans. And in the beginning, God created, and we were talking about there's even different philosophies of creation, that it's not necessarily creation or evolution, which is fascinating. So we're really going to be looking at that more this year. But another thing that I did not know until I started studying with this resource is, and I don't know if this is written too small, but the timeline is not the same as the Bible. Here's the book of Job. it's right here along with Genesis instead of over here in the middle of the Bible. And so that was quite a revelation to me, and it explains why when you go through 1 Samuel, 2 Samuel, 1 Kings, 2 Kings, 1 and 2 Chronicles, you're reading the same story over and over again, and I just did not know that. So this really helps us as parents learn it so we can teach our children these concepts. And it's then you have more of a middle school focus. The Bible and streams of civilization are more your high school, and then you have the younger ones. You can just break it down to more of a child's
colored pages and
yes
for the little ones.
Yeah.
There's some things that you had introduced more when you had the traditional private school, which I was kind of already married and out of the house by that time. So there's some things that weren't like fully, I think, the system that you would use now. But I do remember using the maps and charts of the Bible and feeling like that helped me to understand some biblical concepts better because it was more visual. And some of the books of the Bible are so long that it kind of helps to like have it in a visual form. Whereas when you're reading it, it can be hard to remember all the different parts of things that you've been reading. So that did help me a lot with the visual aspect of those charts. So I appreciated those.
Yeah, and just the fun of learning something new every year and discussing it with your family. Like you said, it's the discussions that I loved more than anything else. And having 4 children that were 2.5 to 3 years apart, the thought of having 7 different subjects at 4 different grade levels, to me just wasn't doable. So we pulled together, if this isn't obvious, we pulled together the language arts, history, and the Bible. We taught those together, gave the assignments separately, but then the math was always separate because it's very line upon line and it's consecutive. And then also the grammar and the spelling and some of those language arts you really have to teach on the grade level. And so you're investing 15, 20 minutes, in that like really detailed way. But then when you do the assignments, you base it on the history. And it was really good. And then science was on grade level. I usually had a textbook because that was always fascinating. I never had trouble with y'all doing science, but then we did projects together, usually field trips that would try to explain it a little bit better. And when y'all got older, I looked for things in the community that would help with the labs, the high school labs. So we had the dissecting field trip for you guys. We did gardening one year. After you were married, the younger ones volunteered at that oceanographic center, which was fantastic. They learned all the different fish and how to feed them and how to walk people through the different aspects of their displays that they had. And that was fantastic hands-on training, and I didn't have to do it. It was done in the community. It was really a lot of fun. So those are just some ideas. Is there anything else on your heart that maybe you'd want to share with people that are thinking about homeschooling, maybe for the first time and wondering?
Well, I do think, like you had said, it's a journey. It's an adventure. And if you kind of show your kids that learning is fun and you allow yourself to have fun with it, I think it all goes a lot more smoothly. And there are so many more resources now. I consider myself an eclectic homeschool mom. If I'm going to pick a title or a label, I just go with eclectic because I think part of the joy of homeschooling is that you don't have to put yourself in a box of like, this is the way, this is the only way, this is how I will do it forever, and I will never deviate. I think as you go, you're going to learn what works for your kids and what is not working. And you have to, and that's, I think, part of the process that you really have to pray about is this not working because I haven't done it long enough and we're still just learning how to use this system or whatever? Or is it something that's not working because my child's learning style or because my child has extra needs that aren't being met through this system? I think that's something that you really have to pray about, and each family individually has to be praying about that and communicating between you and your spouse if you're working through this together with each kid, and have open communication with your child What could make this more fun? For my daughter, we have a class that we're watching on our TV right now, and just sitting at the couch with a little desk table in front of her with her paper and her little like pencil. She loves that. She just loves. And so, we can say, you don't need a desk, but if that makes it more fun for them, why not do that, Yeah. And she just really enjoys that, kind of moment there, that environment there that she's creating. So that's what I would say. Just be willing to try things and see what works. We love watching videos. Especially for things like science, for concepts, or if we're learning about other cultures and we want to see what they eat for dinner in another country, we can look that up on the internet and watch a video. And there's just so many resources now that you have, that you don't have to know everything. That's something that I've had people ask me before. How can you teach XYZ? Okay. We're back. We had to do some technical stuff. Anyway, so what I was saying, I believe, was that with the rise of the internet and all the resources that we have available, and it's kind of always been this way, but it's even easier now, especially with video. The kids can learn so many things, and they're just literally seeing everything right in front of them. That you don't have to be the expert of everything. Yeah. And that's kind of like a common misconception, that you can't homeschool because you're not smart enough on every topic there ever was. And it's like with the internet now, there's more access to information on the internet than there is having one expert at your school. So that's how I feel about that.
I love that. And if you couple that with what we call the notebook approach, which is how the founding fathers learned, that they learn from everything just based on what they need or what they're interested in, but then they record what they've learned in their own notebook. And in Florida, you can get evaluated at the end of the year, where a certified teacher looks at their notebook and helps you discern where their weaknesses are, makes suggestions how to tutor them in that area. So you get a lot of help. Mm-hmm. And but it's an adventure. So that's the main thing. We just wanted to share that concept of pulling the children together, teaching them together to simplify your life a little bit and be creative.
Mm-hmm. And allow more room for projects and fun things that relate to the topic. Yeah. And then I think over time, I actually think it's beneficial to repeat, and everybody repeats some of the stuff that they're learning over the course of their education. We just kind of combine it so everybody's repeating it in the same year. Yeah. But I think repetition is beneficial to actually remembering things.
Yeah. So if you have any questions, let us know. This is something we're willing to do on occasion if there's any way we can help y'all. Mainly, just keep praying. God is with you. He'll help you. He's so faithful. It can truly be enjoyable, and learn as you go.
Yeah, absolutely.
God bless y'all. Thanks for joining us.
Taken TV is making TV watchable again. Join us on the Active Kingdom Entertainment Network. Download Taken TV from your App Store now.